Australia is a land of natural beauty with so many changing landscapes and seascapes. From the tops of the mountains to the depths of the sea, it's magnificent. But there are some parts of Australia that really stand out as natural wonders and offer a great selection of eco-experiences for the traveller. My first iconic destination is the Great Ocean Road in Victoria in southeast Australia. Much of the road hugs the coast, offering outstanding views of Bass Strait and the Southern Ocean. Over time, this dramatic coastline has been created by erosion and weather, forming spectacular natural limestone and sandstone rock formations. The drive starts in Torquay and continues along the southeastern coast of Australia for 243 kilometres, finishing in the town of Warrnambool. The road was constructed to provide work for returning soldiers and also marks a memorial to those killed in the First World War. I'm in southwest Victoria, just off the Great Ocean Road, which is one of the world's most scenic drives. But another way to explore this magnificent coastline is with your own 2 feet on the Great Ocean Walk. The Great Ocean Walk starts here at Apollo Bay and stretches about 100 kilometres, ending just before the world-famous 12 Apostles. I'm at Blanket Bay and this is where my walk is going to begin with Both Feet walking group. We're joining them to get to Parker Estuary. It's about 90 minutes. I'm ready.
Let's go, guys.
I've polished my boots.
All right, guys, let's go. Follow me. Being quite a lot of koalas here, we'll quite often come along and see them just through... Oh, there we go. Just there we go, little fella's sitting right up the top of the tree.
Yeah, there he is.
There's another one actually just up here, a bit closer. So we get these koalas and you get a really nice view of them, nice and quiet. Try not to disturb them.
That's the beauty about going on the Great Ocean Walk. You can actually interact with the wildlife and see it in its natural habitat. We've got our little home koala right here. There's the view.
Yeah, awesome, mate. It's the office window.
Must be tough.
Yeah. Yes, it is a hard day at the office. It really is. Crayfish Bay just down through here. You've got the lighthouse off in the distance. You always know where you're going. Walk into something.
So by coming with both feet, it's pretty cool because you get into places like this.
It's really about getting out there and getting out there in a secure and safe environment. But really, we have the access to some of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. There's a lot of people who won't actually see this on the Great Ocean Road, and the Great Ocean Walk touches parts of the coast that you won't see unless you actually walk there.
So how long is this ocean walk? 104 kilometres?
104 kilometres, but they are doing realignments at the moment. So that will change on a monthly basis as they realign the walk.
So how long are your walks that you do?
On our 4-day walk, which is a fairly popular walk, we're trying to walk between 12 to 16 kilometres on most days. When we do the whole walk over the 6 days, we walk the whole track. The fact that you can be in the bush 1 second and then down by a beautiful beach like this and have it to yourself. You don't get that in a lot of places. So that's one of the reasons why I love walking along Great Ocean Walk.
And this is a pretty iconic coastline we've got here.
You've got the 12 Apostles, is where we finish all our walks. Very iconic, known throughout the world. As Australia's iconic.
And can people of all ages do this walk?
Yeah, I mean, we do cater for family groups as well. Like, I've done anywhere from 4 to 94 on this trip.
After a relaxing walk on the beach, there were plenty of steps ahead of us. Someone's had the energy to count them all. And if you take all the averages of everyone that's counted, 298 is the figure that comes up more than any. So that means I'll go with 298.
Oh, it's not right now.
Just in case we haven't had enough stairs, there's a few more. Wow, you appreciate it from up here.
It's awesome.
That's where we were.
Yeah, that's where we've just come from and that's where we're going.
I think what makes this place so beautiful is the ruggedness of the country. But you can imagine in the olden days how this place must have appeared to
sailors that came past this coastline and they had to navigate their way. This lighthouse was the one thing that helped guide them.
After working up an appetite, it was nice to know we had had somewhere comfortable to put our feet up. And I think tonight I deserved my dinner. The next morning we were up early and we were given our rations for our day's walking. But first I was off to meet some people who are really looking after the local wildlife and also have their own Ecolodge.
One of the best things is when ecotourism can actually help conservation with wildlife, and we're here with Lizzie. Lizzie, tell us a bit about what you're up to.
Well, we operate the Cape Otway Centre for Conservation Ecology and the Great Ocean Ecolodge.
So you help people come here and appreciate the place, but you also help rehabilitate wildlife.
That's right, absolutely.
And is this a couple of your little friends you got behind?
It is, yes. This is a few koalas who've been hit by cars and need some help to get back out into the wild.
So who are the koalas we've got in here?
This is Mr. Curly.
Mr. Curly.
Like the loony character. He takes life very seriously. He's a very thoughtful chap. So he came in here in very, very bad condition and with very bad lacerations and bad bruising, but he's doing beautifully now. He's climbing well and looking really good.
So do the people bring you injured wildlife?
All the time. Yes, locals and tourists and the police and parks, everybody. So often in the middle of the night. Don't we?
Having a chat.
And kangaroos and wallabies and bandicoots and gliders and possums and all sorts. This is a sort of territorial advertising, telling everyone how fabulously wonderful he is.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Curly. It's nice to meet you, mate. I'm really glad you're getting better.
Thanks.
But then it was time to see the koalas in their natural habitat, and Shane took me to a koala hotspot. Koalas love coastal bushland, and these manigums are one of their favourite tree species. In many areas of Australia, coastal vegetation has been cleared, so this is valuable wildlife habitat.
So are there lots of mum and joes around this area?
Well, this time of the year is absolutely perfect. So they're all emerging from the pouches. So getting to that sort of stage where the breeding season's not far away. So usually the breeding season's November through to late January down here on the Cape.
So does ecotourism pay for all this, or do you have to find other ways to help?
So in terms of the research, the environmental research side and the wildlife care, unfortunately, the wildlife care doesn't have any funding at all, so it's donations. We actually get a non-for-profit organisation called the Cape Otway Centre for Conservation Ecology.
I bid farewell to my fellow nature lovers, and it was time to experience another section of the Great Ocean Walk.
But the best thing is you can walk for half a day, 1 day, 2 days, or even 6 days. You can do it by yourself, or you can do it with an operator. And you can walk through so many different changing environments. And just up there is the New with a view. Best thing is, not another soul in sight. And I have the whole Southern Ocean all to myself. Look at this view. But you will have to excuse me, a girl does need a little bit of privacy, even in a place like this. And from in here, the view's just as good.
All along this magnificent coastline are sensational views, and over the 100 kilometres of track, you are spoiled by pristine wilderness. Looking out over Moonlight Head really made me realise why we spend the time hiking along this coastal track. And the good news is, the track keeps getting longer. But some of the best scenery is awaiting us at the end of the track. And to get a bird's eye view, a chopper is always a great option. From up here, you really appreciate the world-famous 12 Apostles and the winding coastline. I could even see the Great Ocean Track we had just walked.
Guess what? More steps. From down here, you realise how big and grand and sheer these cliffs are. And it's all about the wind, the weather, the surf, and the constant pounding and erosion that makes this landscape so unique. Part of the beauty about this coastline is the history, and apparently it's known as the shipwreck coast, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. There's recognised about 120 different shipwrecks between Port Fairy and Cape Otway along this section of coastline, which they now call the shipwreck coast.
So what's so significant about this stunning gorge that we're sitting in?
Well, this is called Lockard Gorge. It's named after the Lockard, which collided with Muttonbird Island just behind us in 1878. Now, when that happened, unfortunately, of the 54 people on board, there are only 2 survivors, Tom Pearce and Eva Carmichael. The Lockard shipwreck finished immigration by sailing ship to Australia. After this happened, people were too afraid to immigrate to Australia by sail, and steam took over.
What about this incredible landscape?
This limestone which we're looking at today is called tertiary limestone. It's a relatively soft stone. It was laid down between 15 and 20 million years ago when the sea levels are about 140 metres higher than what they are today. So it's basically an old seabed. Over the years there's been fluctuations in sea level. The most recent, 18,000 years ago at the end of the last ice age, sea level was 120 metres lower than what it is today. About 5,000 years ago, the increase in sea level started to hit upon or erode this section of limestone which had been laid down 18 to 20 million years earlier. And gradually it shaped this coastline which we have today.
Once you've experienced the magic of the Great Ocean Walk, there's a couple more things you should try while you're in the area. Here at the Otway Fly, it gives you the experience of the ancient rainforest from every level, from the bottom right up to the top of the canopy. So this is some of the oldest rainforest you've got here?
That's right. These are all the myrtle beech trees, Nothofagus cunninghamii. Some of the species dates back, before the dinosaurs were around. So, there's fossilised trees that are basically 80 to 180 million years ago. So,
do some of these trees take a long time to grow?
They do. It's really unknown how long they do take to grow. It's very hard to measure their age. But I've been told some of them on the property are, up to 500 years old.
This is a beautiful Lake Elisabeth, and I'm with Otway Ecotours and Bruce, and we're going looking for the beautiful and shy little platypus. You ready, Bruce?
Yep, off we go.
So, should we just sit here and wait for the platypus?
Yeah, it's good to just sit and wait because then the canoe's nice and still and we're nice and still, and they just appear around us. They don't tend to get a fright, whereas if we're canoeing around, moving a lot, they tend to see us.
Oh, there he is.
They eat quite a lot of food in a day, just little insect larvae and worms and shrimp. So they use an electric sense to find food, which means that when they go under the water they dig around and then they can find it without seeing it.
This is a very special part of the world. From the scenery to the nature, it's got just about everything. And if you take the time, you never know what you're going to see. 11 o'clock, we've got a platypus.
Our next iconic destination lies in the Northern Territory and is another dramatic landscape that really shows the contrast of environments we have here in Australia.
Welcome to the Nitmuluk National Park and the stunning Nitmuluk Gorge. Many of you know this place as Catherine Gorge, and it attracts over 200,000 visitors a year. But a lot of this land, over 50,000 square kilometres, has been handed back to the Jawoyn people, who run and manage Nitmuluk Tours. Not only can the local Indigenous community share their culture and practice their values, but this also contributes to a thriving ecotourism industry.
This vast and ancient Jawoyn land, located in the Northern Territory, is about the size of Switzerland. It stretches from the southern end of Kakadu National Park all the way south to Mataranka, west to Pine Creek and east east to Bournemouth. There is a lot of country to cover, but the draw card of this area is the Nitmuluk Gorge, which carves through this rugged landscape. I jumped on board one of the guided tours for a flight of breakfast and to learn more about this land. These tours educate you about the country you are seeing and how these incredible gorges were formed.
What's so special about this place?
Just the spiritual side of it. It's so ancient. The indigenous mob lived around here for thousands of years. One of their sayings is the land doesn't belong to them, we actually belong to the land, and I believe that same sort of thing.
So just a little bit more about this gorge. How long is it?
It's 13 gorges over about 16 kilometres. The tours we do today only go up to about the third gorge, which is about 7 k's, so it's just a little under a half of the gorge system.
So how old is the rock formations here of the gorge?
About 1.65 billion, give or take a day or two, maybe a couple of hours.
And the wildlife, how special is the wildlife here?
Second to none. There's there's over 22 species of snake, 38 species of fish, and this is only a river system, mind you. 3 different species of turtle, which are all edible, by the way, and 2 species of croc. Keep your eyes peeled. If you do come across a croc before I do, give us a yell, and I'll be happy to get nice and close to it so you can take a photograph or two.
This is the fun part. But to get to some of the more remote sites in Nitmuluk, there really is only one way to travel, and that's my favourite way, by helicopter. We're heading to an art site at the end of the 13th gorge.
From the air, you truly appreciate the grandeur of this striking landscape. The gorge escarpment changes every corner you turn, and Richard Baker, our Indigenous pilot, seemed to know how to negotiate every inch.
Being an Indigenous pilot, that must be pretty special for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I feel proud of it, and like I say, it's something I always wanted to do, and yeah, to bring people out from other countries and that sort of stuff and show them what we got here in the Northern Territory. Go out with a smile on their face and good memories is good.
Some of the art on Jawoyn land dates back 45,000 years, and there is usually a fascinating story which lies behind it.
And this is what we've come to see, the art that's scattered among the rocks here. This is Jawoyn art, and as you can see, the colours are fantastic. These colours, the orange and the white, are from the rocks themselves, but this painting here of a Jawoyn lady, the yellow comes from the bark of a root, and over here are some more Jawoyn ladies. All this art is classical Aboriginal art.
As the rippling light bounced off the rocks, I took a swim in my secluded rock pool, and I felt that perhaps the Aboriginal spirits did welcome us to this land, as long as we treat it with respect and leave it just the way we found it. It was hard to come down from my amazing journey to the art site, but I wanted to experience Nitmuluk Gorge at one with nature.
Now the beauty about kayaking is you can go at your own pace, and also you can stop off at these secluded beaches and have them all to yourself. Well, nearly all to yourself.
Once you reach the end of the first gorge, to continue kayaking, you pick up your paddles and walk between the grand canyons that tower to either side. On the other side, more kayaks are waiting, and the scenery just keeps getting better.
And I'm heading to probably the most scenic place in the whole Northern Territory, the beautiful Catherine Canyon. The best thing about Mother Nature, she paints an awesome picture. It gets pretty hot here, and when the sun finally sinks below that cliff line, it cools down to about 35 degrees. It's just beautiful. I don't know if it's that it's just so ancient. I don't know if it's the spirits of the Aboriginal people talking to you or just that it is so beautiful, but it really is a special place. This is so exciting. We're heading by light plane to the community of Nitmuluk. It's so cool. Here we go. See you there. How you cool down in the tropics. Ah! That's better. It's 40 degrees in the shade out here. We're here with Long John and we're actually doing a walk to experience the bush tucker that you find here in the bush. Long John knows how to feed himself during the different seasons and we're about to learn how to do it ourselves. Right, Long John?
Yeah, thank you. Ant here.
Are these the green ants?
Yeah, you don't want to look at that.
I can see him up there.
See?
Yeah. This is good because I've got a cold.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That cold. Right?
So what are you doing here, Long John? You're making medicine? So by crushing the ants...
Yeah.
Kelly, you got a cold? Yeah. Kelly's got a cold. Oh.
I
can smell it from here.
Let's have a smell.
Long breathe.
Oh!
Yeah. And I gotta eat this. Watch me.
Green ant, bush tucker, good for medicine.
Good for medicine.
It tastes like the saltiest salty chips you could ever eat. You think that's funny, don't you?
No.
Long John showed us to the pandanus palm, which he said was women's business. They are the ones that will turn the pandanus leaf into beautiful baskets. There are so many wonderful aspects to Aboriginal culture, but all of them teach you how to survive. Even the simple art of making fire. Sorry, did they say this was simple? I think they meant impossible. Now, before we could eat our dinner, we would first have to learn how to catch it.
Oh my God.
So with a few tips from the experts, I was taught to be a
I've lost it
hunter.
already.
I wonder if I would survive in the real world if I had to. Maybe I have potential.
It's been absolutely fantastic being able to see the traditional ways of doing things in the bush. There's so much we can learn now more than ever. We have to value our environment. And here, they do exactly that. And the best thing is all you got to do is listen.
Winning of this land here back to us was a watershed for the Jawoyn people. It brought us together.
And how important is Nitmuluk tours for the Jawoyn people?
Obviously there are economic benefits flowing from this. Those economic benefits flow straight back to the Jawoyn people in the form of money for funeral ceremony, education, sporting.
So how far does your tradition go back on this land?
Somewhere between 40 and 60,000 years.
A lot of time.
So we've spent a lot of time perfecting that. So as I say, every generation hands down to the next, and it's not my land. I'm passing through and I'm just a custodian of the place. But I have to make sure that when I pass it on in the same condition as how it was passed to me.
We've had an amazing time with Nitmuluk tours, and I think I've seen this gorge just about every single way you possibly can. But I also enjoyed sharing the Jawoyn culture and learning how ancient their history is. Just maybe, I think we should also take a leaf out of their book. Let's look after the land that looks after us.